Is Bitcoin ready to pop as we head towards the election in the United States, which is really nearby, just a little over a week away, and we're there? So let's take a look at Bitcoin today. This is Crypto Simulation Theory. I am the Gaussian Snake. Please be sure to subscribe to this channel if you enjoy this kind of content, and join my Telegram channel, which there's a link in the video description below to check out the latest alpha. So if we head over to the chart for Bitcoin, this is what we're looking at on the weekly time frame. Let's go check in with some of our favorite indicators. Start out with some whole moving averages just to kind of check in with our theory about pumping to the 100 week HMA. And as you know, on this channel, I use whole moving averages instead of simple moving averages. Well, I do also use simple ones, but I prefer the whole moving averages because of their less lagging nature. So let's see what's happening right now with Bitcoin. We talked about these golden crosses with whole moving averages. They are quite meaningful when they happen with this particular moving average because they tend to be less lagging. So we had that beautiful bounce back in September off the 200 week and haven't really looked back since. We've just been testing each of these moving averages on our way up, which is really, in my opinion, bullish. We have golden crosses starting to form. We have the 10-week golden crossing with the 40 week and the 50 week. We have the 20 week golden crossing with the 40 week and the 50 week. You can almost imagine that the 40 week should be golden crossing pretty soon as well. And the 50 week is also concave up. So everything is set up really nicely as we head into the end of the year for some bullish price action. Now, we did mention on this channel multiple times, if you've been following, that once we were approaching this death cross of the 50 and the 100, that tends to be something that Bitcoin pumps into afterwards or before or around it. Basically, like this death cross was sort of a signal that we were likely to get a pump and then a subsequent dump sometime thereafter. That's just based on the history of these kind of death crosses. I just want to point out that this formation looks very bullish, but of course we shouldn't limit ourselves just looking at, moving averages. We should look at some other stuff as well. Just want to revisit, this is a linear regression channel. My first data point here is now June of 2022 on this channel. Notice that it's a very strong trend, and Bitcoin has been in this linear regression channel for over 2 years. It has respected this channel. This channel, I've actually included more data than previously. So previously, I've had like 100 week or 103 week. This is actually fit to 120 weeks of data. And you can see in the beginning of the channel, we rode the top of it in July of 2022, rode the bottom of it in December 2022. And that's actually where Bitcoin found its bottom. And then we straddled the median line for a while and then came back down to the bottom of the channel. Let's put the crosshairs on so we can get, price data pretty easily. So that's around 26K. And then we straddled the median line throughout the end of 2023, Bitcoin kind of being in the 40s. And then we blew off to the top of the channel. This represents two standard deviations away from the mean, which is the middle line in either directions. And we straddled the top of the channel and then got rejected there. And we never even really made it all the way to the bottom of the channel. In August of 2024, we came down to about 49K. I think that's the major bottom for this particular crab cycle that we're in here. Now, the question is, what's going to happen once we get to the median line? Again, the median line is right around our previous all-time high. Are we going to go blast through it, or are we going to straddle it for a little while? That's a good question, and one I don't fully know the answer to, but we'll have to look at other technicals to kind of get some hints as to what could happen. Then there's also a theory of what if we get rejected at the median line and come back down. That's not really that big of a deal because honestly, the bottom of the channel I think is destined to hold, and at that point, um, sorry, we don't go that far out. 58K is a potential, trend reversal target. I don't know. What I'm seeing here is something quite bullish. I think there's a good chance that we start to make our way back up towards the top of the channel, and then sometime in 2025 get near that 120, 130K price range. But of course, we want our analysis to be as unbiased as possible. So who cares what I think? Let's look under the hood and see what else is going on. But it is comforting to see a 2.5 year channel still holding up just fine. We haven't broken out of this channel. Now, what could break us out of this channel could be that uptrend. A parabolic uptrend could absolutely break us out of this channel and create a new one, and we could go even higher. So I don't know if that's going to happen, but it could. Markets do often rally into recessions. and I could see an argument being made for a recession potentially next year. So, um, or even in 2026. So I think like, we do have to consider the market could get very irrational and blow off in a huge way and even break this trend line potentially going into next year at some point. So that's just something to consider. Let's go look at some more indicators. Structurally, we're looking at a gigantic cup and handle, also dating back about 2 years, actually, maybe even almost 3 years at this point. So, yeah, 3 years practically. This gigantic cup that spans all the way from November of 2021 to March of 2024. And now this handle or crab trend, which extends from March of this year till October. And this is a really, really strong handle and cup formation. I mean, how much more um, large could you have? And so the upside target right now, I've set around 130K. This is calculating around 125K. So we're roughly on the same page. That is not necessarily a final target. That is just, how high this cup and handle could send things initially. And I do agree with that. I think, like I've said, 130K seems to be sort of a reasonable area to, find potentially some resistance. And there is a psychological level of 100K, of course, but really hitting 100K is not all that impressive anymore. I mean, if you look at the Bitcoin risk, 100K only puts us at around just under 70 risk, which in a bull market, is elevated, of course, but 70 risk is not, overheating by any means. So I think if we start to get into, the maximum risk at this point, 100 risk is 177,000. I'd like to see, Bitcoin kind of slowly grind its way up so we can increase the maximum risk and thus our potential maximum upside. Now, in terms of simple moving averages, I like to use the alligator indicator. And the alligator is potentially waking up here. It could still be sleeping. If we get rejected at that 100 week, then I would argue the alligator is still sleeping, and we might have to wait a little while for a massive pump. But when you see the alligator, the jaw at the bottom here, the lips right in the middle, and the mouth, everything's kind of like starting to open up. That tends to be a bullish premonition. So we'll see if the alligator can get a little more momentum, but it does look like the alligator could be waking up, hence the bull market waking up. Just doing a check in with our ADX and DI on the weekly, we can see that we have a very weak trend of about 10. So that's a super weak trend strength. In fact, when was the last time that Bitcoin had this weak of a trend strength? Let's go ahead and take a look. Let's draw a horizontal line and see if we can get, that just kind of positioned nicely. And let's go back in time. It looks like you'd have to go back to October of 2021 to see a trend strength this low. And that's why our top in November wasn't that impressive. How about before that? We hit a trend strength this low in July of 2020. We know what happened after that. We know what happened. Huge bull run. Okay. So it looks like we're ready to rock it off again. We've got the green and red DI at a standstill. This is typically what you see before an explosive move. Everything's lining up. And I'll bet you the Bollinger Bands are looking really similar. There's certainly a correlation to be said. Um, for that. So, yep, look at those Bollinger Bands. Look how tight those have gotten. Bollinger Bands are tight. Prices above the median line. ADX and DI, very, very weak trend. And uh, kind of in a consolidation, coming out of consolidation potentially. So we want to see, I don't mind if we see red cross up a little again, maybe at the end of October. Maybe October doesn't close super strong, but I think, we've got the election coming up. It's historically a tailwind, and the chart it's looking like ADX wants to go back up again. So and I don't think that we're necessarily going to explode upwards right away, but I think in November we could start to see that massive bull move, materialize. And we've seen this before. Let's go back and see what happened in 2020. So we had ADX, at a very low level. We kind of had some consolidation happening in here from, December of 2019 or even before that, all the way to, July of 2020. And then once the ADX really got going and it crossed over, we got that really strong bull trend into 2021. And that really is a much more significant top than the one that came later. Okay. Even though 69K was the technical top back then, 64K was a more significant top in terms of these technicals. So ADX and DI look like they're getting ready to heat up again. Um, Now we should ask the question: how often do we get hills like this? Right? These hills. Let's look at the hill that we had in April, because it was a pretty big hill. So pretty, this was a strong trend when we put in our 73K top. We did hit that level in from January through April. We did not hit that level in 2019. And sorry, the data has to sort of normalize here. Um, we have not gotten that high in a long time. It looks like we hit that level in 2012 and also in 2013 in February. So I will say this: I don't think that the ADX is likely to get this high, but I think it could get high enough. Okay, and if you think in terms of return on investment, that's not a problem, right? So if the ADX were to do something, of course, on a presumptive bull trend, let's see, I guess I'll use the brush. Excuse my drawing skills, they're not great. So we could see the ADX sort of maybe put in a little bunny hill like that. That's sort of what I'm thinking is likely to happen, something along those lines. I don't think we're going to go back up to the 70 line, just seeing how rarely that happens. And usually it's spaced pretty far apart. I think we're going to see an echo bubble of what happened in April, but it will still take Bitcoin to a new all time high and give altcoins plenty of momentum to pop. So, I mean, I think Bitcoin's maximum return of investment from its market cycle bottom back in December of 2022 or November 2022, I think it's in. I think that 73K, which was like almost a 5x off the bottom, is the biggest ROI you're going to get from the cycle bottom. But there could still be another 3x in play. And if we get really lucky, maybe a 4x, but it's still a lower high in terms of return on investment. And that's where I see a lower bunny hill kind of coming in. This is an indicator we haven't looked at in a while. This is the YCOB buy sell momentum indicator. And it definitely had a nice peak here in April. We have had absolutely no, well, we had one green bar, which is a buying climax. That was in January, which preceded this huge move. Lately, we've just kind of been chilling out. And if you turn on static volume, I'll have to come in here to do that. You can see that volume is in a contracting pattern, and that's what the YCOB buy sell volume momentum indicator is showing us, right? That is generally bullish, especially with what's going on here in this crowd trend. So we see sell and buy volume kind of being exhausted. Buy volume is starting to outpace sell volume, momentum wise at least, but it's a crowd trend. And what happened in 2020? If we go back in time, let's go ahead and fit this data to get it to fit. We also had some contracting volume in 2020, and this, of course, preceded a huge dump. But then it happened again. Look at that contracting volume. You can see it statically, and this preceded the bull run, and we had two green bars, and those green bars have not occurred in like years, and we had one here, but look at that green bar was not nearly as high as these ones. So you can see, usually you're looking for green bars that are pretty darn high. We haven't had any of those yet. So I think the best is yet to come in terms of all the excitement in the overall market. I think if you're looking for major gains on Bitcoin, yeah, that time is probably past. I mean, you could still make some money on it, but there's got to start thinking about other things besides Bitcoin if you really want to make a lot of money. Not financial advice, nothing in this video is, but just saying. If you are holding altcoins, don't expect them to pop off anytime soon, at least against their Bitcoin pairs, because Bitcoin dominance is right around 60%. I think it's going to hit 60%. I drew this green zone. I said a local, likely topping range for Bitcoin dominance was between 57 or I think, yeah, around 50, 58% to 63%. I think 63% is the absolute highest that this will go. I don't think it'll go any higher than that. Of course, anything could happen, but I don't think it will. I think Bitcoin dominance is going to top this quarter and roll over, which, of course, means that if you're looking at altcoins, it's not the worst idea to start thinking about picking some up, especially with Bitcoin. Yeah, but I think like on the whole, like if we look at the Gaussian channel for Bitcoin dominance, it's just not looking good, right? Like it's looking good for altcoin holders, but it's not looking good for Bitcoin holders. The Gaussian channel is fattened, it's gone concave down, and this is generally the type of behavior you see that precedes a dump. So I think Bitcoin dominance is likely heading into its final hurrah for the cycle, and I'm fairly certain that 2025 is going to be a really bad time for the most part for Bitcoin dominance and a good time for altcoins. So I think we have that to look forward to. I think all around things are looking as we would expect them to look at this point in the cycle. Despite all the fear mongering about recessions that's going to happen, there's really no reason to get super, bearish about a recession. And just to kind of like reassure you, let's look at the unemployment rate. Um, and actually, no, I want to look at the rate. Sorry, down here. The unemployment rate got rejected off the lower boundary. Sorry, let me take off the weighted Bollinger Bands. And I got to turn on the picture. You guys can't see what I'm looking at here. So if we look at unemployment, you can see that we did sort of carve out a bottom. I think this is the bottom for unemployment in 2023, but it got rejected off the red Gaussian channel. And I think that rejection, it remains to be seen if that rejection holds. But I suspect that unemployment's going to probably crab for a little while, and it's during that crabbing that, and of course we have inflation also, which has been more or less on the decline. We can look at that too. We have data coming out in November, so I think that's important to look at as well. But if we look at inflation, probably should put this on a linear scale. Let me do that real quick. Regular scale, auto. Okay, inflation looks really bearish, right? It's super bearish. So I think inflation is in a bear market. Gaussian channel is about to flip red. That's a positive sign. So honestly, what's there to worry about? Like everything looks fine. Like I think the market is set up really well for a massive bull run, not just the crypto market, but the stock market as well. I can't promise you this run will last throughout the entirety of 2025. I haven't really thought that far ahead. I'm not going to right now. I want to first see things get bullish, but I'm expecting a bullish November. Even if October kind of closes crabby, which it might just be markets are waiting to see what happens with the election, and that's understandable. So you might still have some time to accumulate. But I am still very bullish on Bitcoin. I think it's ready to pop, and I think we're going to see the euphoric times in the market come back again. We're going to see retail finally show up, make our groups that we're in on Telegram a little bit more lively, including my group, which has gotten more lively lately. Check it out, it's the Crypto Simulation Telegram group, link in the video description. But yeah, we're gonna see a lot of interest return, I think, and Bitcoin price go up. So that's my base case. It has been for a while now, and it will continue to be until there's data that gives me sort of an idea that I should think otherwise, which there isn't. So thanks for joining me in the crypto simulation. I am the Gaussian Snake. Hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy the content, and also join my Telegram channel, which there's a link in the video description below. Everything there is free, and we have some great analysts who love to look at all coins and all other kinds of things in the chat, and I'm very present in there doing alerts on the daily. I also have a Twitter account you can follow. Link for that is also in the video description. I'd love to have you there. So all right, that's about it for today. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.